Now let us go to writing statements into, using symbols. Because anyway, you could have your statements with words, phrases, and sentences, but sometimes it is much easier for us to represent them using symbols, and that is using letters. Okay, and then if you're going to go back to the, I think that's the next second slide, we have there the symbols for the negation. We have the symbol for anyway the symbol for the negation that we will be using will be the that symbol for similarity, and technically it is known as tilde. And then for the conjunction, we have that what do you call that, a symbol for uh, symbol for end, and then for the disjunction, a symbol for or. There's a symbol for or, and then for the conditional and the biconditional, also have symbols. Okay. Now to write symbols, write statement using symbols. Let us try to go back to our previous examples, which is about mathematics, a difficult subject, and it is time consuming. So in that case, so let us have to notate our mathematics to be letter M, D to be difficult, and then your T to be time consuming. So these are the symbols or the notations that we will be using for these words. Okay. Next, let us have now an activity here or as a sample exercise here. So for a negation, going back to the previous examples, so mathematics is not a difficult subject. So if you notice, the not here is the modifier of the difficult. Okay, that's why the negation will be to letter D, not to M. Because if you will have a negation of M, then it will be not mathematics, but it says there mathematics is not a difficult subject, so the negation would be with D. Okay, so that is the symbol for negation. Next, for the conjunction, mathematics is a difficult and time-consuming subject. So the two words that are being joined here are difficult and time consuming. That's why we will be using letters D for difficult and T for time consuming, and then the symbol for and in between these two letters. Next, let us have the disjunction. So for the disjunction, mathematics is a difficult or time consuming subject. So again, the two words here, the main words are difficult and time consuming, so you would be expecting that you will be using letters D for difficult and T for the subject and the symbol for or in between. So there. So that's the symbol for the disjunction of this statement. And the next one, unconditional. So for the conditional, you have there if and then. So if the subject is mathematics, then it is difficult. So we have letter M for the if statement, and then letter D for the then statement. So you have there M, then D. So you have there the symbol for if and then statement, and then since our if statement is mathematics, so it should be M first before the D, which is the then statement. Okay. Now for the biconditional, which is the last one for this one. So the subject is mathematics if and only if it is time consuming. So you have there if and only if. So we also have a symbol for that, and the two words that we will be focusing here on would be on mathematics and time consuming. So we will have letter N for mathematics and letter T for time consuming. And then, of course, the symbol of if and only if in between. So that's how we write statements using symbols. So at least we can actually maximize the space. I mean maximize the space to be used for other things that we need for this type of exercise. Okay, especially for translating the statements into symbols and getting the truth value of that statement. Now let us have another example here. So let S be the legend for or the notation for the statement I saved some money, and then letter B for the statement I will buy some of the things I need. Okay, so let us have here the statement if I save money, then I will buy some of the things I need. So in this case we have if and then statement, so you have to expect the symbol for that proposition. And then the if statement is I save money, so you would expect that that would be S. And then for our then statement, I will buy some of the things I need, so that would be letter B. So finally, you have now this, if statement, I save money then and I will buy some of the things I need, then you will have S and then the symbol for if and then B. So if I save money then I will buy some of the things I need. So there you go. Okay, let us have another example. So another example is this. Let M be the statement be the notation for the statement lines A and C are perpendicular, and let N be this notation or the legend for the lines B and C are perpendicular. Then our P for the statement lines A and B are parallel. So having this statement now, two lines A and B are parallel if they are perpendicular to the same line C. So if you notice there, you have if statement, they are perpendicular to the same line C. So you would expect that this one would be a then statement. But in this case, in this type of example, we have actually two types of propositions here. Okay, for our if statement, we only have one statement, but for our then statement, we will be having two statements there. So which will be this one? So if you notice, this is the if statement if they are perpendicular to the same line C. Wait, I think I said that wrongly. Okay, let me repeat this one. The if statement is having another type of proposition, but your then statement is only composed of one statement. Okay, so again, let me repeat that. Your if statement is composed of another type of proposition, which is actually conjunction, because if they are, so we have their M and N. And then our then statement, we only have one statement here, which is your P. Because a while back, I think what I have said for the if statement, there are two statements or another type of proposition. I mean, if statement is just a single statement or a simple proposition, and then the then statement, another type of there will be another type of proposition. So I have said it wrongly. So the correct one is this. Okay, let me repeat that. Two lines A and B are parallel if they are perpendicular to the same line C. Now, our if statement is composed of another type of proposition, which is actually a conjunction. The they here, which are actually lines A and B. Okay, so that's why you have here M and N. And then our then statement is only composed of one statement, which is this one. Lines A and B are parallel. Okay, so it is important for us to put parentheses, because if you don't, then it will mean a different thing. Okay, so that is the explanation for this one. Then after which, let us try to construct a truth table. Now in constructing a truth table, of course, it would be easier for us to write the statement using symbols. Okay, now let us have an example here. Upon announcement of public storm warning signal number 3, classes in all levels should be suspended and children should stay inside strong buildings. So we have here three letters. Now, in terms of the designation of the letter for each statement, that depends on you if there's no instruction. And then, of course, if it will be instructed to you that this statement will be represented by this letter, another statement by this letter, then you have to follow that instruction. But in this case, I have already given you the instruction that for this statement, you will be using P. Classes in all levels should be suspended would be S. Children should stay inside strong buildings would be B. Now, in this case, the symbol for this one is this one. So if P, then S and B. So if you're going to if you're going to go back to the statement, this is the if statement. If there will be an announcement of public storm warning signal number 3, then the classes will be suspended in all levels, and the children should stay inside strong building. So that's why this S and B here, they are enclosed with a parenthesis, and then the P separated. So this is the if statement, then you have this statement here. Now, in terms of constructing a truth table, so there is one thing that you should know. If you have you have to follow a particular what do you call this, a pattern here, because in terms of constructing table, you have to be very careful in uh, constructing the table with particular number of rows and particular number of columns. Now, in terms of the number of rows, okay, in terms of number of rows, it will be 2 raised to n, where n is equal to the number of letters involved. So again, in terms of the number of rows, okay, in terms of the number of rows, it will be equivalent to 2 raised to n, where in your n is equivalent to the number of letters. Now in this case, our the number of letters we have here are 3, so you will be expecting 2 raised to 3 number of rows, which is actually equivalent to 8 rows. Now in terms of columns, it will be like this. Now in terms of making your columns, okay, sorry for that. Now in terms of making your headings for each column, it is advised or it is encouraged that you have to follow the order of letters. So in this case, so PSB, so that's why you have the P column, S column, followed by the B column. And then for the next other columns, it will be like following the PEMDAS. Now in mathematics, right, you have to follow or to do first whatever is inside the parentheses and then do the exponent, or the other way around, exponent or the parentheses, so whichever comes first. Then after doing so, then you will have the multiplication or division, whichever comes first again. Then after which you have addition and subtraction, then whichever comes first also. Now in this case, we have to prioritize this one first, the S and B, that's why that's the fourth column, and then for the last column is the whole statement. Now it doesn't mean that you always have to follow that the sequence or the order of the letters, because that depends on you. You may have here S, you may have here B, and then this one is for P. Well, you will still have the same result. Well, in this case, again, I am encouraging you to at least follow the order of the letters for the convenience sake. Okay, now, so we have here already 8 rows. Okay, just like what I have told you a while back, it will be based on 2 raised to n. So n refers to the number of letters involved in the statement. So there are 3 letters. So 2 raised to 3, that's 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then for our first column, which is our P column, there are 8 rows. So therefore will be 4 rows for true and the last 4 rows for false. Did you get that? And then for our next column, which is our S column, for this 4 true for these 4 rows, which are all true, then you will have 2 true, 2 false, then 2 true, 2 false for our 4 false rows. Okay, and then for our B column, it will be now alternating true, false, true, false, true, false, true, false. Now for the fourth column, which is S and B, please try to refer to your handouts about the truth table for the conjunction, because this is a symbol for conjunction. Now if you are going to refer to that, then you can easily follow this one, because if true true and true, then that will give you true. True and false, that will give you false. False and true, that will give you false. False and false will give you false. True and true, true. True and false, false. False and true, false. False and false, false. So this will now be the results for the conjunction of the S column and B column accordingly. And then for our last statement, it will now be considering the S and B column and your P column. Now, this is the if statement, and this will be the then statement. So if you have true, if true, then true, true. If true, then false, false. If true, then false, false. If true, then false, false. If false, then true, true. If false, then false, true. False, then false, true. If false, then false, true. Now, what is now the significance of having this three results of false and then five results of true? So that means the statement that we have here, going back there to the previous slide. So upon announcement of public storm warning signal number 3, classes in all levels should be suspended and children should stay inside strong buildings. The truth value of this statement is 3 out of 8 false and 5 out of 8 true, which means it doesn't mean that you have to follow whatever this statement is telling you to do if there will be a public storm warning signal number 3. So some classes might not be suspended, and children not necessarily should stay inside strong buildings because some of them could be fetched already by their parents, or some of them would be just still lingering around. Well, anyway, it's just signal number 3. They could go to SM or anywhere they want to go. So that's the point of not having all the results to be true. So it could be false because some might not follow that policy. So that's the significance of this last column here. Okay, so I hope you have understood that. And then for our next example, so we have here, if you are interested in becoming a volunteer, you should fill out the application form and submit it to our headquarters or at any of our local offices. So in this case, so the general statement has actually an if and then statement. But within the then statement, which is starting from this one, so then you have a conjunction, and then within the conjunction you have the disjunction. So therefore, using the V, A, H, and L, the symbol for this statement would be like this one. So you have there if V, then A and H or L. So this is the inner inner statement or inner proposition, the or, and then the next would be the conjunction, and then going to the conditional statement. Now, how many letters do we have here? We have 4 letters, so that means you will be expecting that there will be 16 rows, which equivalent to 2 raised to 4. 4 refers to the number of letters. Here is our truth table. So by following the order of letters, the V, A, H, and L, so we have for our first columns the V, A, H, and L. And then for our fifth column, we have here the H and L, H or L, which is actually our innermost statement. And then after that, we have the conjunction, the AN, the OR for H and L, and then the last column for the last statement. Now, expecting that for having this 16 rows, so there will be 8 rows for true, and then 8 rows for false. Now, then for our A column, among those 8 rows for true, there will be 4 rows for true, then 4 rows for false, and then for the 8 rows of false, we have 4 trues and then 4 falses. And then for the H column, we have by twos, so true, true, false, false, true, true, false, false, true, true, false, false, true, true, false, false. And then for our fourth column, which is the L column, we'll now be having alternating true, false. So you have it there, TF, 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 TF. And then going back to the truth value of your disjunction so that we can now fill this out. Okay, this space is here. So we'll be using the H column and L column for the disjunction. So if we have true or true, then you'll have true, true or false, true, false or true, true, false or false, false, true or true, true, true or false, that's true, false or true, that's true, false or false, false, true or true, true, true or false, true, false or true, true, false or false, false, true or true, true, true or false, true, false or true, true, then false or false, false. And then for our second to the last column, so we have here now conjunction involving the A column and then the column for H or L. So if we have now the truth table for the conjunction, we now have here true and true will be true, true and true, true, true and true, true, true and false, false, false and true, false, false and true, false, false and true, false, false and false, that's false, true and true, that's true, true and true, that's true, true and true, that's true, true and false, that's false, false and true, that's false, false and true, that's false, false and true, false, false and false, false. And lastly, for the statement for that would be if and then. Okay, so we'll be using the V column and then the second to the last column. This is the if statement and this would be your then statement. So if true, then true, true. If true, then true, true. If true, then true, true. If true, then false, false. 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 If true, then false, false, false. If false, then true, true. If false, then true, true. If false, then true, true. If false, then false, 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 true. Okay. As a result, we have here out of 16, we have how many false results? We have 5 out of 16, and then for true results, we have 11 out of 16. So that means that statement involving the signing up for being a volunteer. So you may not follow the protocol of filling out the application form, then submitting it to the headquarters local office. Maybe some volunteers would just directly go to the local office and then submit, or maybe some will not be filling out the application form. They will just go directly to the person concerned. So that's why we have here results results of combined true and false. So there you go. So that's how you are going to make the truth table for every statement so that we can have a conclusion if that statement is logically true or logically false or a mixture of false or mixture of false and true. So again, if you want to have some more examples, exercises about the construction of truth table, because this is somewhat confusing, especially if you're going to translate the statements using symbols. That's actually the most difficult part there, because once you have done that wrongly, then the truth table is no longer useful. So again, try to browse some references about this. Try to watch some lecture videos about this, or browse the net, surf the net, and that's all what I can give you as suggestions to have more examples about this. So thank you for listening. So we will be having our next topic to be problem solving, and that would be for my next video lecture. Okay, so at this moment, so I would just like you to stay at home and stay safe and stay healthy, of course, so that we can see each other again. So see you. Bye.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.